you know, when I come back and do it live and everything like that, and then all of a sudden, I had all my computers set up, I had all my cameras set up, everything like that. And it's all gone a bit Pete Tong. It's all gone completely mad, really, in that respect. So, yes, I've had to set up a whole new camera system within the last sort of like, it was all working sort of like 20 minutes ago. And for some strange reason, or not, it all sort of messed up. So I'm just getting it all redone now. So what a palaver. How is everyone, by the way? Lovely to see everyone. I'm going to have to pull up so I can see the comments, because otherwise I will not be able to see them. I hope everybody's doing well, by the way. Let's just go on to... Well, I'm trying to find where the comments were now. Well, there they are. Now I can see them. What a palaver. Hello, everybody. Let me just, lovely to see everybody. Nikota, Julie, Ozzy, Kevin. Thanking you very much, Kevin. Your support is always beautiful. Chrissy, lovely to see you. Always good. Ozzy, lovely to see you. Yes. I'm trying to sort of catch up on here, sort of. You've all been really chatting, haven't you? I've missed out on all the chat. I've missed out on all the chat. Cole's here. How you doing, Cole? Lovely to see you. So, yeah. That's amazing. I think my lighting's all shot to pieces. I'm probably very yellow. But hey ho, who cares? We're here, and that's the main thing. So yeah, I was going to go into loads of stuff. Completely shot the pieces about what I was going to go into. Am I ready? No, obviously I wasn't ready. Yeah, it was all to do with the conjunction solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse as well, and all about what's been going on in the messages from energy over the past month, how we're building up to a sort of thing. Priscilla, lovely to see you, and how we're going from this one thing to another, and are we ready? And I wanted to go through that. Hi, Ozzy. I wanted to go through that a little bit because it feels like this week here, if you imagine like you're playing a sport or you're going out for the evening, that's probably more likely, isn't it, really? Going out for the evening, and so you got your glad rags on, you're ready to go out. Lynn, how you doing? Lovely to see you. And you're ready to go out, and it's that anticipation moment. Everything is set, and you're trying out your last dance moves before you go out for the evening, sort of scenario. And this week here, it's sort of like coming into a stage where we're going to be hitting the dance floor, people. And I don't know if you've noticed it. I've certainly noticed it from my side, that there seems to be a change of engagement of myself. So, living your life. This is the other thing I wanted to sort of say about it. Is not necessarily fantastical. So it's doing the simple things, really. And I think it was Janet who did a comment. I've been trying to catch up with my comments as well. I've been really lame with that because I've been so busy running here, there and everywhere this week. It's been absolutely mad. And one of the reasons why I come back to the UK from France is to rebuild some bridges that obviously I've been living away from a lot of my family and so forth for like 20 odd years. And I wanted to rebuild the bridges before things started getting a bit freaky. So, and I've sort of done that. And there's another aspect of my own personal life and my family and so forth. And it's, I feel like I'm a peacemaker. I feel like I'm playing this role as peacemaker. Isn't, between everything. Everyone's fantastic. They're all fandabidosi, as it were. And I feel like I'm playing that, and it's almost manifesting in real time. The anticipation, or not the anticipation, the things that we would like to see happen. And it's being realistic as well about what you're setting out to do. So, I wanted to convert the entire world to organic produce 25 years ago. So I started doing import-export, and I ended up with a supermarket and stuff like that. And I think I was a bit ahead of the curve in a way. But it was a way of doing business, and I'm convinced that way of doing business in which I was doing, I think that's going to become more and more important as we go on. And but even if it was destined to fail, it had to be put out there in order to get the ball rolling, as it were. So no matter what you're doing, it's just getting that ball rolling and taking the simple steps in order to get towards the higher goals, as it were. And the energy now is feeding self-empowerment. That's what it seems to be doing, where it's pulling people towards the ultimate goal of what they should be living. And changing ultimately the entire world as we go through. Vita, hello, lovely to see you. And the energy has really got in, sometimes when we calm everything within us, or everything calms around us, you can hear yourself a lot easier. And it seems to be like that way with energy at the moment. It's almost as like, because energy's been very sort of like, according to the elements, has been very even across the board. It brings forth the elements within us really to the fore. So, when before we were kind of like, as individuals, maybe sort of kind of going, do you know what, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. We're now in the stage where it's kind of going, it's bringing things out of us. So we're sort of kind of going, do you know, I'm really like that. Or I really, I'm adapted for that. And I enjoy doing that aspect of life. And that seems to be, I think that's going to play more and more an important role, especially when we go into the disorientation or the energy of non-directional vibration. And a lot of people have been getting this non-directional sort of stuff. And if you look at the outside world, this is the other thing I keep saying it to, life is for living. That's what it's all about. There's nothing to lose in life. That's the thing. Because there's really nothing to win out of life. The only thing to win is the experiences that we do. So if you're worried about doing something or following a pathway, just take a good look at the world around you at the moment. And I don't mean you could look in close quarters or you can look in further afield, what's going on in the world. And I don't see a lot of optimism if you look into the world. So then blow that then. Why worry about it? Anything you do is going to be successful. Because this world or the world of the human world is lacking of optimism. In regardless of where you look in the world, there's not a great deal of optimism about. So you're going to stand out like a sore thumb when you start getting optimistic about you following your pathway. And the moment you start doing that, it's going to be much easier for you to get forward in life than a society that no longer has optimism. So Chrissy says, I feel there will be a surge in using technology to reinterpret older sustainable methods of farming. Wow. I get with that. Okay. Yeah, it's starting to, if you look at like a plant as an electromagnetic energy like us, and if you put one magnetic field against another magnetic field, you create a different frequency between the two. And therefore you can grow crops in different ways to get the best out of each of the frequency that comes out of the plants, enhancing the beneficial aspect of the plants. And maybe technology will help us in order to do that. To program and to get into alignment with things. I can totally get with that, Chrissy. But I think also we maybe will be part of that technology. You know, we look at sort of like, who is it, Elon Musk and etc., who has that sort of Neuralink thing. Don't get me started. With that Neuralink thing. And it's bypassing our consciousness. That's what it's doing. It's tapping into our consciousness in a very physical way. Because we're controlling something physically. But it doesn't get the feeling of it. It doesn't get the electromagnetic field of it. It doesn't get that universal vibration that is flowing through everything. And that connects everything. And maybe we are actually part of that new technology in the way in which we meditate with plants and so forth. You know, talking to a plant is not... I'm a bit of a plant doctor. I'm constantly saving plants, finding them. They're not looking too good. I take them under my wing, and before you know it, they're really looking beautiful. No, sweetheart. My daughter's going off to... it's not just talking to them, because that's part of the CO2 and everything like that, which plants need. That's what they consume. All plants are made from air. They're not made from the soil. The soil only makes up 5% of the plant itself. It's only taking water mainly, which is that electromagnetic fluid which we need in everything, to have that electromagnetic connection, so then photosynthesis can happen. And it's like a battery. It's like separating water and carbon. So it's in air. It's separating the oxygen and everything like that to the carbon. And so then it takes the carbon on, and that's what it creates the tree out of. And, you know, if we know this sort of like process that's happening here, and we can get in line with those magnetic fields, this is where we can help plants to grow enormously, and quite big as well. In the sense that you can look after plants and not just talking to them. It is a feeling. And, you know, obviously all plants have their own personalities. And you get to know them over time. It's absolutely amazing. I find lack of optimism is leading to lack of direction. It's also part and parcel of that. Yeah, I agree with that, Ozzy. So I distance myself from the world more and more lately, to try and keep on my path. Totally, I can understand that. I've immersed myself in it. I can quite happily immerse myself in life, get involved in it. I don't watch the news and stuff like that sort of thing. I'm not up with this programming stuff. I'm much more of a physical engagement and meeting people. I love meeting people. So, doing off the wall things in Normalville with the general publicans is it's always brilliant. In fact, I met a couple of old footballers the other day, and one was my idol when I was a kid, called Tommy Langley, who played for Chelsea. And I just shook him by the hand and I said, I just wanted to thank you, Tommy, for all the Saturdays you've given us in the past. But I don't get involved. I quite happily walk through it like you're walking through a carnival, and that carnival you can walk away from. So I don't have qualms about getting involved in that sort of world, but I don't get involved in the whole sort of idea of the structure or the systems we have in place are the systems that we will be using in the future. In the future, the way in which we use multitudes of different systems will reflect not only the technology but also the consciousness that we're applying into it. If we don't apply any consciousness, don't expect any consciousness back. But yeah, I do get it, Ozzy. I do get it, and I could quite happily live on top of a mountain away from everything and never see anything again, but it's yeah. I tend to I like meeting people, so I do get involved in it because as individuals, there's probably a lot of optimism. Like you two, right? Great. When you meet individuals, there's a lot of optimism. When you put us all in a collective, you can just kind of go, oh no, that went a bit wrong, didn't it? So I think once we start sort of realizing that we have a lot more to contribute to, to the creation of something far greater, the easier it's going to be to actually create something. The systems at present are collapsing. Yeah, that is what has been witnessing out in the field. Right, okay. Out in the field with the plants. It has, that's part and parcel, when it's, the transformation will be complete over the next few years. And that transformation is majorly, and I would say majority, driven by the changing magnetic field, not only of the Earth, but also the sun and everything around it. Out in the public. Could be out in the field as well, and they go, why not, hey? And it's that changing magnetic field which is driving all of that sort of disorientation, because it's almost like there's like a mesh over reality, and anything that just doesn't fit won't go through. But we can slip through quite happily, where everything's a lot more sort of purer. Orange. Yes. Why not? Everything's orange. I had some blood oranges the other day. They're absolutely lovely. Brought me back. Went back to the fruit and veg market where I grew up as a kid in London. And just seeing all the pallets of fruit and veg, the smells. I've had I spent the last 10 days taking a trip down memory lane as a kid. And it's been brilliant. It's been absolutely amazing. Yeah. All that is going on is the mass distraction, to keep us from focusing on our energetic journey and putting out those vibes. Yeah, this is it. But then once you don't get low, this is what I mean about not getting involved in the distraction, which I'm sure you don't either, Chrissy. And it's so much easier to sort of kind of just say, hey, how you doing? You keep calling me Paul, Raymond. I don't mind. I'm not Paul. Paul came a lot later on in the story. But how you doing? Lovely to... no, I won't go into that. That's a really bad Scottish accent. But yes. So what's this orange all about, Judith? So, hi. And yeah, it's all this... Michaela, how you doing? We're getting to a point, well, we're at this point now where I think from next week, and I think from the lunar eclipse, which is on the 3rd, so that's in sort of like 10 days, it will become a lot more obvious and evident to a far greater number of people. That's all right. It's no worries. You call me Paul in a comment the other day, which is fine. I don't mind. Call me Ringo. Call me John. Call me George. I don't mind. But yeah, we're going to get to this point here where it's going to be auto manifestation, and there's another aspect of where I got a funny feeling, aspects of our complete identity. Now, when I mean our complete identity, I've always said that past lives, you can't blame a lot of things on your past lives. I wouldn't blame anything physical on your past life either. The thing is there's some aspects of it that I get there's some aspects of it, but generally your physical body is tuned into the family that you're born into, and when you're born into it, you inherit that family rather than it's from you, if you know what I mean. So there's a lot of things that come in that it just because you've chosen, or you wanted to experience a certain life and you were born into a certain family. We could well be born into the same family on a regular basis, so then that can bring those issues up. But I think here is now the realization of who we are as individuals and bringing forth. It's almost as like it's putting things in alignment from various different lives so they all fit in sync. And it's taking on characteristics of that consciousness, I guess, that plays into the character or the person or the spirit or the soul that you're supposed to be, or you are, and living in this life here. So I've come to terms with the idea of revelation. If that's and it's almost, I feel like that we're moving into that in a way where the chaff and the wheat will be sorted. The agreement that was made with self always is that sort of kind of going, I'd like to experience that, and that's the agreement. We don't necessarily get, I don't think we get the details, Michael. I don't think we get the details. I think we get just like, that's the vibration I'd like to experience. Because if we had the details, sometimes we'd turn around and kind of go, no, actually, I don't want to live that one. And, we've got to be also to be able to get into, we get born into certain families where it's not necessarily easy and stuff like that. But it helps us to understand something because it's not easy. So we don't really know the details. We know everything. Once you get onto the other side, and everything on the other side is done by vibration. So you can't lie, because vibration doesn't lie. You can feel and see the vibration. Now, I think this is part and parcel of that whole sort of revelation idea that monkey mind doesn't. Oh, you got to take control of the monkey mind. I talk about that a lot with the team meditation. You know, your monkey mind, once your monkey mind gets into line, it's a really beneficial thing. You know, but yeah, you don't want to let it go run riot. No, the monkey mind needs to be under a certain control. But once we go through this sort of shift, and I think people will start really physically seeing energies and seeing how they work. And I think, for a lot of times when we see how things work, it's not always as we thought it was, or we thought it works. Because energy doesn't have emotions. Energy, it's either it works or it doesn't work, sort of thing. That's what energy is looking for. Does this work? Does that work? No, that doesn't work. Let's see if it works like that. So it's exploring all of those formations of how to express. How can energy express itself? Sentiments and emotions come from the physical body of living the physical world. So what's happening, as far as I can tell, and we're gradually building up to this, is what is happening above, so is happening below. And we talk about like a spiritual war and so forth, which, if it's happening up there, we're going to have war here. And I think this is another thing that's coming to an end of that idea of a spiritual war. I think that whole thing is coming to an end as well. I think that war is over, and therefore, we will have that we will have that eternal peace. Well, what would appear to be eternal peace here. But the only reason it will happen is we evolve ourselves. I keep repeating this, but I don't think anything is going to be coming from another part of the galaxy in order to help us evolve, to give us rules and regulations to follow so we can obtain full consciousness. Because if you're following rules and regulations, that is not full consciousness. Consciousness is living with the vibration on a regular basis, on a daily basis, on everything in your life. That doesn't need rules and regulations. It is combine it with the sentiment of the physical body, the feelings of the physical body, which gives it a lot more nuance. All of a sudden, it becomes evident what we should be doing rather than there's rules and regulation. It just follows through. What are you tuning in on? I'm tuning in on the possibility of this human species to take a place at the table, the bigger table, as it were. We are the fallen angels in a way. And we have this possibility of redemption in a way. I guess that's what I'm sort of tuning into. I missed that comment though from Chrissy. What does it say? What is mind? There is no matter. What is mind? No matter. What is matter? Never mind. I like that. Did that come from Einstein or something? Or did that come from you? We are already there. We are already there. What do you mean, already there? Just need to accept. Yeah, I know. But then also we need to be accepted. And that doesn't appear to be... that doesn't appear to... I think we're at the kiddies table. We're little... I think that's pretty much... It's a bit like that. It's a bit like that. We're at the kiddies table. We're those annoying little teenagers that's too old to be at the kiddies table, but too young to be at the adults table. I guess that's what it is. We're the in-betweeners. And that's why we need to evolve by ourselves rather than having evolution thrusted upon us by other people's values or other species' values. Because otherwise, us as youth within the greater picture of it all will no longer be contributing to the evolution of the consciousness, of the collective consciousness, and I'm talking collective in a long way, across the entire universe. It's from George Berkeley. Oh, right, an Irish philosopher in the 1700s. Okay, like it. I knew it was from somewhere. It could well have come from you as well, Chrissy. But I knew it was from somewhere. But anyway. No, it is accepting. It is accepting your pathway in this world, I guess. And that will be the acceptation of our pathway in the greater field. But as energy, as the pole shift sort of happens, we will not have full access to the energies or all the energies until that pole shift flips. And once it does, the Earth will then just go power back up. It'll just go... And when it does power back up, then all of a sudden we're going to have access to energies that we haven't had access to for probably around about, about 48,000 years. Certainly a lot more than sort of, thousands of years. And that comes along with also the technological sort of aspect as well. There's multitudes of things. There's 4 different developments that's happened over time that created 4 different types of outcomes. So one was about sort of technology, another one was about sort of spiritual pathway, another one was a physical pathway. So we're bringing all these attributes together where all of a sudden we're going to be able to use everything at one time. And that's going to be very much in the sense that that's when we will be able to fully understand what we mean by quantum mechanics. Because at the moment we don't really, we've still got that whole idea that quantum mechanics is something outside of us, but we're actually the quantum mechanics. That is what is called the entanglement. How many times have we been entangled within our minds, just kind of going, oh my, what about this, what about that? You know what I mean? If we realise that we are the watcher and the watched at the same time, all of a sudden we know we can have a certain degree of control over our future reality. That's really important to be said. And we will be able to sort out some of our past future, our past reality by seeing things in a different light. But we still won't be able to change certain aspects of what has happened in our history, collective and individual. But we certainly will be able to create or have a lot more say in what future vibration we experience as we go forward. Everything is a pendulum. Easy, hard, light, darkness, etc. Yeah, the yin yang. Everything has its both sides, and this is what's happening at the moment. Some people are, said before, some people are not going to get it, but it's being ready yourself to follow your pathway. So if you pick the most simplest of things, if you say like you really love making soup, yeah, it could be mushroom soup or something like that. You know what I'm talking to. You're really good at making soup. So then therefore you start making soup and selling it at the market. And that's what you're supposed to do. And once you start selling at the market, you start kind of going, okay, well, what are the ingredients that I'm using, and how are they helping the physical body, or how are they helping the spiritual body or the energetic body? And that's when we can really start opening up a lot of things. But it's really keeping it simple, and finding that sort of like that whole sort of soul tribe sort of factor going on. Because once we start doing things, we're going to start noticing people. You probably notice already the people around you that are in sync as well with the energies. And once we start noticing the people around us that are in sync, we are going to be able to start creating a new reality as we go forward. Anybody's welcome into that new reality. It's not a problem, but you've just got to be in sync. So I'm not deciding whether you're in sync or not. You'll only know that. And once you are, it's like a light bulb. If a light bulb is not, if you're not using the right electricity for that, the number of kilowatts or the number of watts or whatever it is, or voltages or something like that, the light bulb won't actually work. It doesn't mean the light bulb's broken. It just won't function. And it's like that is how we're going to see it, certainly over the next sort of 2 or 3 months, as the wheels come off certain machines or systems. We're going to be in a position where we're going to notice people around us that are in sync with what is going on. But that also means, you said you are yellow on screen. You were saying that was about the orange, was it, Judith? I look orange, do I? I do look orange. I don't know how to. I suppose I could try and do the filters, but I can't be bothered. It's been hard enough just trying to get online. You know what I mean? If I'm a little bit yellow, I'm a little bit yellow, or orange. I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, you can call me I'm the new orange. Oh, well, that's quite worrying, isn't it? I'm the new orange man. So this comes from Maria. Hi, Maria here. I've been feeling a bit caught between the old world and the new world. Yeah. I went, personally, I went through that sort of sensation about sort of like 2 or 3 months ago. And I think everybody goes through that, and people are going through it at the moment. Some people went through it before. I might have went through that before, and there's certain things that you went through before that I didn't go through, and I'm catching up now. This is what I mean about being in sync. You've been tangoed. Yeah, that'd be that mushroom soup, wouldn't it, Julie? Yeah, the old world, an old world and a new world. It's an old world of being. It doesn't mean that the world physically is going to change yet, but it's consciously walking into another way of doing things, and another way of interacting with other people, with nature itself, and so forth. And as I say, I can walk through the centre of London like I was the other day, and not be part of it really, and just observing it, but not necessarily feeding it, as it were. So there's certain things that there's nothing you need to leave behind, as it were, because that old world things will all still be there. But at the same time, the new world is just sort of deciding to start living your life? Are you ready to live your life? That's what I wanted to sort of say today. Because it's not easy doing the simplest of things, because the rest of the world will not want you. Happy Feet. Have you seen Happy Feet? You must have seen Happy Feet at some point. And it's like the old penguins that don't want the other penguins to change or to remember how happy and how they're singing and everything like that. Doing and being, both feeling different. It is at the moment. Is that what you mean? At the moment, doing and being both feel different to what it was before, because it certainly feels different to me. And the engagement in life feels really different to me. It feels like there's something to push up against now, rather than just kind of like trying to manifest things. I like, even the word manifest is really, I'm using it less and less, because it's becoming tangible, like a tangerine. It's becoming tangible. You know what I mean? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Does that mean yay? I don't know. Yes, it means yay. Yeah, it is yay. I'm really enjoying it. It doesn't necessarily, if you're looking for Ferrari, that's a massive leap from, say, like being absolutely skint in your life and then kind of going, right, okay, I want to, I'm going to move up and I'm going to manifest a Ferrari. That you're going to probably have to win the lottery, and that may well be a case, but is that the best thing in order to create a better, reality as we go forward? Because we're a tribal animal. We like to work and be with others. And the reason we like to work and be with others is because, everybody has something to contribute that everybody else doesn't have. And when we start contributing things together, that's when we can find the strength of our collective through the individual playing to their strengths. So it's working towards a satisfying result, or getting, doing what you're doing and feeling, loving what you're doing, even if it's not necessarily making you billions of dollars, because that's not what's going to be considered successful in the future. And I think if you already get into that sort of mindset, all of a sudden you can really start I like that. I reached the stress level of a sloth. Yeah. Yeah. I gave up on stress a long time ago. I was not, I'm not a biggest fan of stress. Stress is it's 99% of the reasons we get ill. Stress. So once you take stress out of your life, it's one of the most healthiest things you could ever do, taking stress out of your life. And, it's not always as easy as that. You can't just turn around and kind of go, I'm not going to worry about anything. But, that's a good start. So it's, and the other thing is as well, it's like, when you first start a journey, people are going to look at you because it may not necessarily be normal in the world of general public. So like you may do, let's say like you're a business advisor. Let's just say that's your job, and you're advising business. But now you're sort of advising business in a different way, which is bringing in a lot more sort of energy or emotions and so forth. And because you're doing things differently, the business world is going to look at you a bit strangely, and you've got to put up with that and accept that. I worked hard for peanuts. Did you? What? Charlie Brown? You worked for Charlie Brown, did you? Put in lots of hours, but I'm loving every minute of being creative and providing quality product and express my inner self. You do natural soaps and stuff like that. Am I right in saying that, Chrissy? That's fantastic to know. If anybody wants, I'm a big natural soap fan. If you can, I'll if I'm down the market, I'll be getting from it. I manifest the more simple things. Most, I'm being dyslexic again. I manifest the more simple things most. Don't require money, material items. Don't excite me like they used to. No, I look at them as like practical. Sometimes it depends on what you're trying to do, and obviously the pathway that each one of us has chosen to sort of follow. It may need material stuff. I need lighting and cameras and stuff like that. In order to sort of like help the transition, or everybody to do some sort of like transition from the old world to the new world, but I don't need a full on film studio like they got in Hollywood and stuff like that. Natural solutions to skin and simple health problems. Yeah. Okay, so that's exactly it, and that is going to be, I think that sort of thing is going to be in a lot more demand as we go further down the line, because of this whole sort of thing that we don't know what's true and what's not true within the modern world. Trust is going to be eroded, and I think people are going to come back to trusting what they can, who they know locally. And that's why I mean sort of like find your soul tribe and stuff like that, and get into that sort of thing. But that whole manifesting things sort of without money and everything like that, Ozzy, totally, you're way ahead of the curve, my friend. It must be lonely at the front. That's probably why, don't worry, we're catching up, man. We're catching up. Hypnotherapy grounded. How do we keep going even when we don't love our job but need to work and keep insurance? Well, I look at it two ways. So I look at, say, work in the old world. I'd look at work as sort of either you live to work, so you are totally doing exactly what you love to do. Therefore, you don't look at it as work anymore. So then, therefore, you live to work, or you work to live. So I would certainly start using the rewards that you get from that job that you don't necessarily enjoy to invest in yourself in order to put yourself in a situation where you could do exactly what you love doing. And you won't care, you won't give a monkeys about the income. Obviously you'll cover the costs. You will do. And and if you need to acquire more things, you will get more money in order to acquire more things. But if you turn around and you said, "I need a Ferrari," I think it'd be more of a case of, kind of, really, do you really need a Ferrari? I don't particularly like Ferraris anyway, personally. But anyway, I think that's, if you really don't like what you're doing, I would certainly start using the income from what you're doing to start exploring what you love doing. So work to live, because that will ultimately then flip on. That's when the inverse, that's when the pole shift happens within your life, where all of a sudden you'll start living to work because you'll love doing what you do, and it's a starting. It starts from within you. This is this whole thing about this transition that's sort of saying, are you ready to live your life? And it's difficult sometimes. I understand that, and this is, when I was running my healing school and my healing centres, I had a lot of people who used to do multitudes of different therapies. There was some people who was doing hypnotherapy, other people doing sort of Ayurveda and massaging, and others people doing Chinese medicines, other people doing sound therapy, a lot of different sort of stuff. And they're really sort of like, and they're kind of going, well, I can't give up my day job till I've actually earning enough money, the same amount of money as what I was doing in my daytime job. And I kind of say to them, well, how many hours are you doing in your daytime job? Well, I'm doing 35 hours in a week. And they're kind of going, well, in that case, you've got to be doing 70 hours, really, before you get between the two. And at some point, you've got to let go. And this is where energy will sort of like help you out. If you do that leap of faith, you're more likely to get help from energy than if you're kind of going, well, I'm going to keep hold of this side until it works, and then once it works, then I'll do the leap of faith. That's not a leap of faith. That's logical progression more than anything else. So it's making that sort of, it's doing that sort of like natural sort of, at some point you will start to believe in yourself, and that's the most important thing, really. Okay, people will recognize how incredible our bodies are, and no longer believe the farmer and the mainstream. Well, I think that's pretty much. I think that's done. There's not many people who actually have a great deal of faith in all of that. Really, I think they've got their place. Obviously, I think we didn't learn all of this stuff just to throw it out either. I think a lot of it is very useful. It's like supermarkets. I'm not a big fan of supermarkets. I'm not, but it's got to be said, the way in which they physically go about distributing produce is quite efficient. It's pretty efficient, and I wouldn't lose that sort of aspect of it all. Hi, Tom. Do you see people travelling and moving around more as they work? I get people moving. Not necessarily moving because of their work, but moving. If I'm understanding it right, Anne-Marie, what you want to do involves a lot of movement. If I'm, if that's right, if that's what you're sort of saying, and there's always that aspect of, going from between one tribe and another and stuff like that, and moving around, being that communication as well. No problem. Hypnotherapy grounded. Absolute pleasure. This is what I was saying earlier on. If you look at the world around you, and there's not a great deal of optimism, you know what I mean? If you don't live your life, that's what you got. And if you live your life and it's, and you do it, you won't get any worse. It'll only get better, surely. I'm convinced of it. So I wouldn't sort of, put yourself in financial. Well, I say that. I've done it. So, you choose to do something, even if it's financially not rewarding for you to do it. And you just kind of go, well, it doesn't really matter. It's because I've got to do that. I don't have a choice. That's the evident path. And that's maybe what should really, sometimes you've got to accept it in a way. Yes, the idea of a base, but also freedom to move about. That's what your ultimate goal is. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think there's yeah, like it's a particular engagement with the material world which will have to happen in order for you to achieve that. But I do see people moving in groups and mass to places. I think that's going to be a lot more in the future. I think people are going to find where they should be. So, I started doing I did that sort of side of things. For me, I did that sort of side of things 30 years ago now. Wow. Oh, my word. Ida, how you doing? The beauty of owning your own business is that it moves with you. If you are moving around, which I am. Yeah, exactly. That's why, when I was doing the fruit and veg and I was constantly driving around Europe, visiting different, organic farmers, talking to them and, seeing if, I could sell their produce in the UK. So, I used to love it as well. In Saint Remy in Provence, used to go down there a lot. That was really beautiful, got the Van Gogh vibe. And also Nostradamus was down there, wasn't he? As in the place of Nostradamus down at Saint Remy de Provence. But yeah, no, that's if you can set up a situation now, Marie, where you're you're earning by traveling, then you'll ultimately do exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Maybe the idea is to bring the message to other people. That's maybe possibly part and parcel of why you've got to travel and work, as it were. But yeah. But I think it's going to become... It's like the strap line that I used to have on Cymatic TV. Well, I still have it on Cymatic TV. Called, and I say, don't believe, just know. And I think this is what we're moving into. I think manifestation demands a lot of belief. So you almost sort of just, it's more hope, which I'm not the biggest fan of. And I think we're going to get into situations kind of going, you're going to know that is what you should be doing, or that is the way forward for your own life. And it could be just a simple thing like moving house to a new area. And that new area is exactly where you should be to meet the right people, then start developing that sort of community, that sort of connection and stuff like that as you go forward. And it's just going to be, there's no more questioning. When you know, there's no more questioning. There's always still more to explore. Don't worry about that. But I see the left brain people still not open to what the right brain people see and feel. Reason my circle is so small is they find it hard to relate, or it doesn't relate to them. I think you've just knocked Saturn and Neptune on the head there. You can't have the yin without the yang and all of that malarkey. And there is a lot of people who do not relate, and that's what I was saying earlier on. There is going to be a lot of people who are just not going to get it, and as much as you want, they're still not going to get it. And it's like one of those, It's, you know, right. You see them on YouTube sometimes when someone says something and it's like a word that you would normally know. It's like, and but because you've been led up to it in a different way, you see it in a different light, so you just don't get it, and you can't see it even though it's directly in front of you, you know. But you know, it's like that. It's like that builder's joke when you get the apprentices that come onto the building site and they say, "Oh yeah, can you go and ask Bob there for a long wait?" And they go up and they go and find Bob, and then they say to Bob, "Yeah, Dave is asking for a long wait." And Bob kind of turns around and goes, "Okay, no worries," and then gets back on and starts doing his work. And Steve or whatever, Jones or whatever, or Tom, who's sort of that apprentice, is still waiting around for that long wait. And although as the apprentice, you can't see what they're talking about, and it's like a code that others can get without you getting it, you know. It's that whole idea of a long wait. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of that, actually, Ozzy. I think that's already happening. You can see it all over the place, and it's not a case of kind of going, okay, you know, you don't get it, because you're still going to have to function with those people for the time being. So the idea is you know how to go down into their world. So go down into their world, deal with everything you've got to deal with, and then you can just step back out of it. And the thing is, as we go further in time, you're going to spend more time up there than you are down there. I'm convinced of that. That's already happening for me personally anyway. And also, the more that we do it, is the more that we bring people to the surface and help them to explore and expand their sort of way. You know, that sounds like my son and daughter. One is open to all possibilities, and the other is set in the mainstream beliefs. Even our children, yeah, you can't choose for them. That's the thing. It's so frustrating as well. You know, you can't choose for them. My boss did. My boss. This is from Aussie. My boss did that to a worker. He waited half a day. Did he really? He probably. Do you know what? He probably knew, and he said, "Do you know what? I'll get a day. I'll get half a day off here, and I'll let them laugh at me, and I got half a day off." The guy said, "Don't you think it's been long enough?" Two different timelines that are living side by side at the moment. Yeah, definitely two different timelines that are living side by side. We're all going to get in it. We're all going to get it by some, but some are. I can't read tonight, can I? But some are functioning in the old world energy, just meeting them where they are, I guess. Yeah, it is a lot of old energy out there, and you know, bliss, wasn't it? What was the thing about bliss? Happiness is bliss. And leave people in their happiness. You know, leave them in their joy, leave them in their bliss. I think is really important. But the main thing is, and this is what I wanted to sort of really get is actively from this coming week, over the next sort of like week, 10 days, actively through our own life, living our own life of actively installing a new way of doing things or a new way of being in our daily lives. Obviously, when you've got to meet people or you engage with people in the old world, then, you know, speak to them and be in the old world. But, you know, say, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the future's not like that. It should be like this. In this week's Scorpio reading, you mentioned there is a lot of air influence I found I don't gel with air signs. Is this something I need to explore more about my personality? Well, air is that sort of mental energy and everything like that. And the thing is, with Scorpio, you do have huge amounts of air within your sign. And it is your fundamental. Everything comes from ideas within Scorpio. Rather than it's Scorpios, I find they come to an idea of doing something rather than having an idea that comes from the outside world. So they don't tend to sort of look at the outside world and kind of going, oh wow, look at that, I could do the same as that. They don't really think like that. They sort of, like Scorpios, kind of like, they look at the outside world and they kind of go, yeah, but I want to do this and this is how I'm going to do it. So they always seem to be creating something new in one form or another, rather than being just following the rest of the world. Scorpios tend to be very much on their own sort of path, as it were, so it is exploring those air energies or those ideas or that intuition, that sort of that fluidity that goes between the solid and liquid states. So it's not, although in the air you can find lots of water, which is Scorpio is that. It's a water sign at the top, at the surface, but at the base is air, and you get a lot of that air and water sort of scenario. But there's a lot of water in air, and there's a lot of possibility of water to be air as well. If you heat up water, it turns to steam, and there you go, it moves into the air. You know what I mean? But that humidity is still there, and it's what I think for Scorpios is the biggest thing for them to how they can engage in each in this change is that idea of following ideas that you are cultivating within yourself, that come from within yourself, according to your situation that is around you, the people that are around you, your financial situation, where you're living, and everything like that. Once you start, combining those things together, all of a sudden you get that idea of kind of going, do you know what, it'd be good if I did, or I'd like to experience this. And that's where you can do it, be influenced by the air. It doesn't necessarily influenced by the air on the outside, but maybe you do need to experience that whole idea of my ideas are perfect for my life. That's what you should be doing. Capricorn has a very similar sort of situation going on. They have a lot of air at their base as well, of their flower, but they also have a lot of water. Capricorns is an earth sign, but actually when you look at the Astroflower, they actually only have they have more water in their sign than they do have earth. So there's 4 full signs. There's Capricorn, Sagittarius, Cancer and Gemini, and then you get 4 pure signs, which is Pisces, Aries, Virgo and Libra, and then you get the fixed signs. All the fixed signs are neither pure or false signs. They're very defined. Fixed signs are really, really defined. That's why they're fixed, I guess, and they tend to have one type of energy on one side, or one type of what's it called when it's a fixed, mutable. I'm losing my words here. Fixed, mutable, and cardinal. The qualities. They have qualities on one side and qualities on the other, and the two elements. One side is 2 elements particular, and the other side are the other 2 elements, and it's very well defined in fixed signs. But yeah, it's the same thing for so like you've got water and air for Scorpio, but then if you go quarter round, you end up Aquarius, which is an air sign which has water at its base. Is the complete opposite to Scorpio, but it's only quarter. It's not opposite. them. And we have the same thing with Leo and Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, but it has fire at its base, where Leo has fire at the surface and water and earth at its base. And they're quarterly as well. And, you know, the fixed signs are very particular, you know, as much as cardinal signs are very, as much as mutable signs, that all qualities are very particular. There is no doubt about it. But you know, the particularities for fixed signs are defined to fixed signs. So when I talk about the pure signs, you've got Pisces and Aries. Now that's mutable and cardinal. And then you've got Virgo and Libra, mutable and cardinal. And the impure signs are the same things: mutable and cardinal, mutable and cardinal. And so they're very particular in another sort of way. But you know, getting in touch with that inner vision, that air energy that you can, you know, I think in the readings as well that I was sort of saying, like, you need the earth energy that feeds the fire, and the fire will transform the air into emotional outcome. So I think for Scorpios, it's a case of converting those ideas into emotional outcome. So this is what I want to experience. Let's see what the emotional outcome is of that when I try to experience it. Oh, that emotion is great. Therefore, I should be continuing to do more of that. You know, I was reading that Scorpios have 3 stages of evolution. The eagle and the phoenix. Do all signs have multiple representations? Maybe I read that wrong. So it's 3 stages of evolution. Okay. Yeah, I think all signs have their own particular sort of things and an evolutionary process. If you look at the evolutionary process of Capricorn, it's Capricorns tend to be recluses, you know, like a recluse in the beginning part of their lives. So they don't tend to talk much, you know, for the very early stages, the first 15 years of their lives. You know, they don't tend to talk much, and then after that, you can't get them to shut up. But then that's that fishtail and everything like that, and you know, they're half fish, half goat, and stuff like that. There is evolutionary processes that each sign goes through, and that's one of the reasons why we choose to be born to that family at that time. You know, there's a whole sort of thing, and you know, family dynamics through the signs and stuff like that goes into it as well. And that evolutionary process will be hindered and helped, you know, depending on, you know, the different star signs we're involved in and stuff like that. You know, we should really do a deep dive into the Astroflower, because once you start looking at the elements of the Astroflower and how it actually works mechanically, I know it can be a bit laborious, like astrology. Astrology, when you look at it, someone starts talking about, you know, that's in your 3rd house and it's conjuncturing this and that and the other. Most people are just kind of go, well, I completely don't know what's going on anymore, sort of thing, you know. And it can look a little bit like that, but and the Astroflower is particularly set up so it's incredibly logical in the way in which you can use it for your own benefit on a daily basis. And because it's incredibly logical, it's actually quite easy to understand. It's the nuances which have an effect upon our lives, which the nuances can be, you know, accountable for, say, like 5%, whereas like the mechanics, the Astroflower is going to be, you know, say 50% or whatever it is. So, you know, and that's what you get in the way of Saturn and Neptune as well. It's like Saturn is that sort of mechanics that give structure to our dreams and aspirations. And so, you know, I think once you understand the mechanics, it's like when you understand how to drive a car, you don't really think about it anymore. you start concentrating on kind of going, what sort of colour car do I want? What sort of car do I want? You know, do I want a Ferrari or do I want a nice camper van? You know, I know which one I'd have. But, you know, it's that sort of thing. It's that sort of attitude, really, as well, that goes along with the Astroflower. You know, it makes sense. I was quiet once. Yeah. I totally. I never used to say a word when I was a kid. Never used to say a word. I was very polite and everything like that. You know what I mean? And I wasn't scared of anyone, and I wasn't timid. But I never used to talk a lot when I was a kid. But as I said, no, you just can't shut me up. Greetings, Dallas. How you doing? Is it Lewis? How you doing? Are you back from Italy? How'd it go with the grandchildren? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you enjoy that moment? Did you enjoy the feel of Italy? You know, did you eat well? Did you get some good food in? You know what I mean? Yes. So, welcome back to Dallas. My dad's been given the key to Dallas, actually, by the I don't know, whoever gives the keys away to Dallas. He's got the key. I'm trying to find the door. My dad was given the key to Dallas at some point back in the 70s and 80s, you know. And I've got some friends out in Dallas as well that have moved out that way. If you ever run into somebody called Digby Jenkinson, just says Tom says hello. You know. But yeah, welcome back, Lewis. Yeah. So it's going to be... this is the other thing I wanted to say as well. What's coming up over the next, from, I would say, I think it's going to be, I think we can concretely say it's from the 3rd of March when we get the lunar eclipse. But for a lot of people, it may be earlier than that. But when you do something and you should have, you know, and you should have understood how to do it. And if you haven't taken the time to, engage, you may find that it's merciless, and mercilessness. I can't even say that word anymore. So it's obviously not that. It shows no mercy. So when it doesn't work, it will not work spectacularly. And I think this is what the big thing is going to be happening in society, and that's what's going to give the wrong direction, because all of a sudden things are not going to be working. You know, they're just not, things are not going to be working in the same way. Society is not going to be working in the same way. And all of a sudden, you know, we're going to be kind of going, wow, now what do we do? Well, it's not complicated. You're going to live your life. And I've always said, like, you know, I mean, if money suddenly disappeared tomorrow, would you stop working? Would you stop doing what you're doing? If that's the case, then obviously it's probably you're not doing what you should be doing. But I reckon a lot of the nurses and doctors would still go into work to help people get better. Because I genuinely think that 99.9% of the nurses and doctors do genuinely believe in trying to help other people, and they will always do that regardless of whether you paid them or not. If money didn't exist, no one would be asking them for money either, and I think they would naturally still want to. I'd still keep doing whatever I do, you know, if there was no money, if money didn't exist anymore, I'll still keep doing it. So I think this is what you got to understand, that there is no choice. If you don't do it, just look around in the world, that's what you're going to get. If you're not satisfied with that, you know, if that's not what you are aspiring to, then in that case, start doing what, you know, you should be aspiring to. But Chrissy, we should do, I'd like to do a live or sort of thing where we go into depth, a lot more into depth the astrology signs and the Astroflower. I think it'd be a really good evening to do, a really good live to do. So, yes, it's after a bumpy start, we managed to sort of get there, I think, vaguely. Have you got any other questions? Have you got any, other observations as well? There's another aspect as well, which I think we're all pretty in line with, is the idea of our ancestry, our ancestors, or our past will come into a line with what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah, it would be a great life to do, to explore all of that sort of thing. So we will do. I might have to get my partner in crime to help me out, because it's very good to sort of discuss things. But yes, it'd be a good thing to do. But I also think that traditions and stuff like that, I think, is also going to become a lot more important as we go forward. We could do the good, the bad, and the ugly of every sign. That's always good fun to do. Do you feel that energy healers are going to be needed? Yeah, I think they're going to be. I think anything to do with that sort of thing is going to be massively needed in the future. Not just needed, but it's going to be essential. Anything that deals with energy or human emotions and so forth is going to be seriously needed. Karmic paths. Do a live on karmic paths. Well, this is quantum mechanic. Karmic path is your quantum mechanic. So basically, if you look at everything you've done in past lives, right, and you look to what you want to be doing in the future, you can find those pathways that take you to that point of reference. And you'll find that at your moment in time, living at your moment in time, you are the entanglement that, basically, if you've ever seen how they make rope, the rope is you attach strings to around a wheel, and then you turn the wheel, and there's a point where the ropes, the cords all go together and make a rope. And that point there is where you will find your karmic path, where things start coming together. So if you spend too much time in your future and thinking about your future, you're going to miss the moment of when your path is created, which is really important. If you live too much in the past, you'll just see a rope that's already been formed, and you'll kind of think, well, I don't really have to do anything because it's already been formed. But that's not true, because it's still being formed just in front of you. So, your karmic path is all about that. There's a certain degree, and I mentioned it loosely the other week about destiny and free will. And destiny is the fact that rope is being made, whether you like it or not. Your free will is how you engage in it, basically, more than anything else. Dragon, lovely to see you. A great live would be get to know Tom. Okay. The good, the bad, and the ugly are the fantastic for us newcomers. Get to know me. Yeah, you cannot. I've had a very particular life. Very, very particular life. I'm very particular life. It's been fantastic. It really is. How far are you from Bexhill? Bexhill. Isn't that in South London? If I'm not mistaken. Am I right? As I would like to book up a session just the Beck Hill. Funny because I used to live in a place called Beck's Hill. I don't know where. Let me just have a quick squiz. Let me just find out where Beck's Hill is in relation to the world. Am I? Oh no, it's on the south coast, is it? Oh right, yeah, right, lovely looking place. Wow. Yeah. Oh, she's down by Hastings and Eastbourne. I was doing some stuff down at Brighton as well, and I'd still love to go down to Brighton and stuff like that. It'd be brilliant. I'm over in the other side of Southampton in Dorset, so I'm not a million miles away. And I think yeah, you can book up a session. It's not a worry. We can we can sort something out for that. I'm just trying to hang on, bring back the comments so I can see what I'm doing. Near Hastings, yeah, right, okay. Yeah, it's on the south coast. So it's probably around about. I'd say it was around about a couple of hours away from where I am here. But yeah, no, I'd like to do some stuff. So maybe if there's several people that want a session down that way, I'd be lovely. I'd love to come down and and do several sessions. If I'm going to go someplace these days, I prefer to go when I'm doing quite a few. When I was working, I was doing my healing centres. When I first started doing all my healing years ago, I was doing 10 hours non-stop in a chair. And literally the door will close. As someone walks out, someone else would walk in. And I'd just, for 10 hours, just going. I used to love it. I could still do that now, but then I wouldn't be able to do half the things I do now. So, if there's more people down, I'll have to speak to sort of Sim, see if he'd be up for something, doing something down in Brighton or something. Tried to do some workshops down there. It just wasn't the right time for the amount of people that are sort of turning up and what have you. But yeah, be more than welcome. What would you like to know, Dragon? What was the lol for, Ida? Are you laughing at me or something? A great so good, the bad for us newcomers. I'm open to any question. Anything you want to know about me, really, I don't mind. Really, I've got nothing to hide, and just tell you the straight off. Yeah, send me an email. Nikota, and we'll be able to try and sort something out. For Dragon's comment, for us newcomers, to learn the good, the bad, and the fantastic. Yeah. Never. What's never? Never say never. My life. So basically, for anyone who doesn't know the history of, I really been doing healing all my life. I used to get people that used to come around my house when I was sort of like, when my mum and dad were out, and then some neighbours used to come around occasionally and come around for a cup of tea. So I'd just sit down and talk to me. And I was only about 7 or 8, 9 at the time. And it's funny because one of my neighbours used to be like he used to sell potions down the market. And it was a lovely black guy with this white hair, Morgan Freeman style guy. Absolute. His name was George. Lovely, lovely man. And he had this silky, like, melted chocolate voice. He was lovely. So I seem to have an affinity with him. I don't know why, but he seemed to be looking after me. But anyway, so I used to get people that used to come around there and kind of knock on the door and sort of saying, "Is your mum and dad there?" And say, "No, they're not here." And going, "Do you want to come in for a cup of tea anyway?" Or, and end up sitting talking to him. So without knowing it, I started on that pathway already. Then I did my first hands-on healing without even knowing what I was doing. I'd never had any training so I did the first one, I was sort of 16, but I'd already been sneaking off to spiritual chapels to do seances when I was sort of like 12, 13, around about 11, 12, 13. I should just slip out. I was just going to say to my mum and dad, "Oh, I'm going to go and see a friend," and everything like that, and then ended up at these spiritual churches and stuff like that. So without any sort of, because obviously we didn't have any mobile phones or any internet at that stage in life, you know what I mean? Obviously, I know I look only 22, but it was back in the 1970s. So and I learned a lot without learning or without knowing I was learning, and then I started sort of dowsing from 16 onwards. And then I started sort of seeing energies a little bit later on with that, and then I had a near-death experience at 22. I'm cutting out a lot of stuff because otherwise we'd be here all night. But I had a near-death experience when I was 22, and then sort of like that's when the energies really started kicking in, and I could see everything, and I started living my life through that, and then moved to France when I was sort of like 26, 27, because I was told to, or my spirit was sort of saying, this is where you should be going. And also it was a good way because I couldn't speak French. Well, I couldn't speak French. Let's be honest. I couldn't speak French, and I couldn't even understand it fully enough to have a really decent conversation. So it took a lot of pressure off of me because I didn't understand what other people were saying, and I couldn't express myself. So all I could do was explore energy. That's all I could do. So I spent many years exploring energy whilst working and doing other things, doing gardening, and then I set up my own business and everything like that. But started learning all about that, and then I learned about, I think the next thing on the next sort of chapter on my learning process was I learned all about who I was and who I will be. And so that goes back over several lives, and that was back in 1998, 99. I also wrote the event at that stage there. Didn't get it published until much later on when I did it with Tanya back in 2019. And so it was I hope you write an autobiography. I tell you what, it's just stupid little things. As a little kid, I was in London, and I used to up till about sort of like 4 or 5, I used to walk around with nothing but a red pair of Wellington boots, nothing else, in my birthday suit, walking around in red Wellingtons in London. And in the 70s, that was accepted, you know what I mean? But, and it had really peculiarities when I look back over it. And the people you meet that look after you and stuff like that, and they seem to have the same sort of, like your guardian angels and stuff like that, you could definitely make a movie out of it. There's no doubt about it. You could definitely make a movie out of it. Some of the encounters, I had these gypsy people that turned up in my house and they said, "We've been looking for you for ages." And not instantly, I kind of went, "Yeah, right. I've been living a long time in London, and I've seen your heather and you selling your heather," and it's kind of going, "Yeah, right." But then the lady started telling me things that just kind of went, "Okay, fair enough. You know the score." And she opened my eyes open to like telepathy in a way, or how to see over distance and how things are connected, that you don't necessarily need to be next to the person in order to connect it. And I was only 23 at the time when they came and saw me in my house in London, on my flat in London. But I was so open to it, and it was a very strange experience, but incredibly enlightening as well, you know. And there's once you start going down that road, and especially when you start on that road when you're sort of like 16, 17, everything in life has been driven by that. It's like I used to badger my mum because I didn't think that you were allowed to buy your own tarot cards. You had to be given a set of tarot cards. So I kept badgering my mum to buy me a set of tarot cards. And my mum kept sort of saying, no, you can't have it. You can't have a set of tarots until you're 16. But I kept badgering them. Then finally she did give me the tarots when I was sort of 16. So then I used to love reading tarots when I was sort of 16, 17. And then when I got to 19 and 18, 19, 20, I started realising that, you know, energy is the best tarot pack you could ever get. And, you know, so I kind of went, oh, I'm never doing tarot again. And look at me now, you know, and I love tarot, you know. Yeah. Chrissy, I totally, yeah. Yeah. You know, as I say, your guardians are yourself. A soul, for me, a soul is made up of 6 spirits. You're that one spirit that's in the body, and then these 5 other spirits. There's 2 that are looking after the body, and then there's 2 that sort of sat in halfway house between the 2 worlds, and then you get 1 that's sat in the other world. And you know, it's looking after yourself. And my past lives of what I've been through, and the past lives of my past lives are very, 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 very particular as well. You know, even down to having that past life as a seal. You know, I had the memories of being a seal at some point and being eaten by a shark. You know, it was adventurous. Dragon, incredibly adventurous. I'm constantly on that. I am constantly exploring the nether regions of existence. I feel like Captain Kirk sometimes. And yeah, Red Wellingtons in the 1970s. Yeah, right, exactly. Stay authentic and true to yourself. Always Ivy. Always Ivy. You know, you can't. I just, the idea of being anything else, anything but that, seems so complicated. I just like, you know, kind of like, wow. If you have to invent yourself, it's just like kind of going, really? Oh man, that sounds so much like hard work. So I would always be authentic. I was down at a football match, right? And I was watching Chelsea against Southampton in Southampton. And the Prime Minister at the time was, what was his name? John Major. And the Chelsea fans don't like John Major because every time John Major used to come to Chelsea, they used to lose. And I happened to be sitting there with my mate who was a Southampton fan. I'm a Chelsea person myself. You know, I grew up watching that. And everyone was standing. It was half time, or it was just before half time. It was half time, and everyone was standing up, kind of going, being all very, very official. And me and my mates kind of going, why is everyone standing up and being official? And John Major had come into the stadium, come into the stand, and was walking behind. He was actually just sitting behind me, and I was eating a pie at the time. And he said, how's your pie? And I said, it's fine. It's great. I love my pie. I didn't think at that time, I was only, what, 18, 19 or whatever it was. I didn't think of turning around kind of going, wow, John Major, what a bloody hell are you doing? I didn't even think like that. Just kind of like, oh, John, how pleased to meet you. And it was just, there's crazy things. I was telling someone, your seal existence, yeah. He ate your BC. He ate you because he was hungry. Yeah, exactly. The great. Okay. It's not personal. It just is. Yeah, totally. The I was doing all these past life experiences, and some of them were really profound lives that I'd done, or I got glimpses into really profound lives of very particular characters. And although it was incredibly nourishing in lots of different ways, I'd be in a meditative state for about 2 or 3 hours at a time with someone who was helping me to do past life therapy. He was a major, they were major past life therapist. Fantastic person. Love, very, amazing person. And then I finally got down to the seal life, and the seal life, each time I was trying to take an essence of an understanding from that life. And the seal life was, that's why I learned life should be fun, so please do enjoy. Because, the shark that bit me, that ate me, I was playing in the waves, and it sort of said, I was hungry. The shark said, I'm hungry, and I saw you playing in the waves. You were an easy target and took you out. And I was sort of kind of going, yeah, well, fair play. You know what I mean? If you're hungry, fair play. You know what I mean? But I'm glad that as a seal, I passed away whilst enjoying life. And when I did that life there, I just kind of said to my friend, my good friend who's helped me do the past life therapy, I turned around to him and said, I now know what I need to know. All those other lives that I've been visiting, although it's not that they didn't mean anything, but that seal life was the life that I needed to remember about the fact that if you're enjoying what you're doing or just exploring your life and you happen to cark it on the way of doing that life, who cares? That's absolutely brilliant. Could you not ask for anything better? And so I just kind of and I was starting up my organic supermarket at that stage there, and I was having lots and lots of issues from the administration, French administration, that were giving me a real hard time. And it just kind of I was losing faith in the whole idea. And that experience then just kind of went, well, just enjoy yourself. Doesn't matter, even if the business failed. And it did fail, and I went bankrupt in 3 countries, but, it's, I worked for the small family companies to pay back my debt to those people, because I didn't want to leave families without. So I didn't have to pay them because I was declared bankrupt. But I wanted to, because they didn't deserve that, and but I enjoyed everything I did, everything I did. So yeah, life should be fun. Yeah, stay authentic to you as well. It's always the best version of yourself, really is, regardless. Don't worry about judgment of others. I'm not here to judge you, and you're not here to judge me. I'm here to judge me, myself, because I'm the only one who sees what I do with my 2 hands. I know exactly what I've done. I know exactly what I thought. I know exactly my emotions that I've been through. How could you not ask for a better judge and witness to my life than myself? And we tend to be a lot harder on ourselves than we would be on others, or a lot more honest. You can't run away from yourself. So yeah, it's I'll always be that little kid that people used to come round and have a cup of tea with, always, because I love it, because I enjoy that, and I enjoy meeting people and hearing their journey and stuff like that. Yeah, and sometimes we shouldn't judge ourselves so hard, Ozzy. Sometimes it can be, I'm not judging what I do in my life. If I do something wrong, I'm kind of went, oh, well, that's a good lesson. So I don't judge. I'm not hard in that sort of sense, because I know how hard I'm going to be at the end of my life. So I'm trying to make this part here as easy as possible. So that when I do get to the hard part, it should be a lot more. It's almost, sometimes I feel like that when I get to the end of this life, my life is going to be just like a blooper reel. That's what it feels like sometimes, a really good blooper reel. But yeah, we are very hard on, we're stringent. We know when we're not. We know when we're not being our best. You can't hide from yourself and that. So why not just cut out the middleman and stop wasting your time and just be the best example of yourself all the time? It's just so much easier. It's so much easier. What's your favourite skill or subject was to teach? Ah, that's an interesting question. One Sunday, may you teach that. I love conveying understanding. I really do. I think I'm also very well adapted to do that. I think I'm very good at it. I think I'm very good at of teaching what I teach. Chrissy, thanking you very much. Really do appreciate it, my love. What do I like? What I say is, I don't actually teach people. What I do is I help people to learn. So once they start learning and they know how to learn, you can learn anything you want. So the best thing I love about it is when I tend to do like the morning of theory, and then in the afternoon we do the what's it called, the practical. And what I love is when you've got a group of, say, like 10, 15 people doing the exercises or playing with energy together, or just playing with energies and finding out stuff of how you work. This is what I teach at the very beginning bit. It's the first workshop I do, is teaching people how you work energetically. And once we start doing experiences to as individuals, I love when you just see it. You have this moment where you can see not only within their aura but also within their face. It's just having this moment kind of going, oh my, I understand. I'm really starting to get this. And that is for me is the most joyous moment, because you're just kind of going, oh yes. That there's optimism when someone gets it. So that there is a better chance that things are going to be all right for everybody. Everything's going to be okay. One Sunday may teach that, and or maybe a hands-on healing technique or past life regression. My guess is many might be interested. I am super interested. I guess that'd been. If you got 10 people willing to do a weekend workshop, unfortunately I don't have all the time in the world to organise it. I'm supposed to be organising this thing for the summer, but it's running away from me at the moment. You can only do so much. I've only got 2 hands, and when I did my healing centres and my healing school, and and seeing people, because then I'd take on the apprentices as well. So then, the clients would come and see me, and they'll say, okay, well, today you're going to be working with one of my students, and I'll be there with them, and we'll go through everything on that. And that's brilliant to see people also getting that as well. It's just brilliant. It's really seeing, it's beautiful seeing people. The most I get out of it is seeing people realizing their true potential. Is absolutely brilliant. Really do enjoy it. How do you deal with someone who's constantly pushing your boundaries without being harsh? There's a lot of passive aggressive with this person. Okay, first things first, I would sort of say, wherever you've got a situation that that is annoying or that is causing issues, when you talk to the person, you talk to the person with us and we, never with I and you. So you don't say to the person, the way you park your car makes my life difficult. It's got to be the way we park cars makes life difficult. Now that is passive aggressive in a way, but you've got to, unfortunately, I would deal with it with logic more than anything else, and that's where you can use your air energy at your base there, Chrissy. And that's where you can sort of say, and also it's good to express of sort of saying, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. And someone may kind of go, oh yeah, and once you define things, it's very difficult for people to get round it, as it were. But there's a lot more factors that go into that as well. So it depends on the sort of relationship you have with this person. It depends on the physical relationship you have with this person. So basically, is it someone you work with and stuff like that? You know what I mean? There's a lot of sort of, you've got to take the context into sort of consideration before you can choose a way of conversing with someone. And also for the fact that sometimes there's no helping some people because they don't actually want to be helped, because they can be in a poor me scenario that defines them, and you probably don't want to really get involved with all of that. But yeah, no, it's not accepting and being blunt as well. Usually, sort of kind of going, yeah, no, I don't like that. You say that to someone, and they're just kind of, it almost throws them. Because Scorpios tend to be very nice to everybody, even if they don't want to be. And this is where someone like another sign, and I won't say, but another sign will not necessarily, be like that. And sometimes I just think, it's better to be straight. And because if you don't, if that person's not supposed to be in your life, if you honestly told them how you feel and what you wanted, they may kind of go, oh, that's not for me. And then all of a sudden they will disappear from your life anyway, in general. I've stopped apologising. Yeah, I wouldn't apologise. Well, no, that's not true. I worked out with my mum as a young man, as a young boy, that if I apologised in theory, and I took that approach of sort of saying, literally as a young man, well, I'd say young man, as a young boy, I should sort of say to my mum, I sort of said, look, I've apologised. I'm only a 7-year-old, mum. I've learnt that. I won't do it again. I've apologised. There's nothing more I can do than to prove in the future that So yeah, I don't apologise for apologising's sake, and try to distance. But I don't think being direct with her will help. We've only met a handful of times, and she seems to want to ingratiate herself into my life and business. You know, you give them that, and some people take that. If I'm sort of getting what you're meaning, you know, if you've said to the person that no, I don't want that, you know, at some point maybe you do need to. Could you be speaking about a Capricorn? You might have to sort of just turn around and kind of going, you know, sometimes there's no teaching stupid, and sometimes you may have to kind of sort of saying, what part of no didn't you understand? You know, sometimes people only understand by being blunt, as it were. I know someone who communicates with anger but struggles to communicate without anger. How do I deal with this? Is it anger or confrontation? Because I think majority of people, it's not necessarily anger, but it's they deal with life through confrontation, and it's that confrontation sort of factor goes on. And usually people like that, if they come at you in a she's a Taurus, okay, yeah, you know, that's why it'd be good to see do the good, the bad, and the ugly of all the signs, because you know every single sign's got its good and bad side. You know what I mean? There's no doubt about it. But it's confrontation. So basically, what you've got to decide is that this is like a Five of Swords sort of scenario. Is that confrontation worth winning? If it's not, I'd just turn around to and start kind of going, yeah, no, do you know what? It's not really, don't really want to, I can't, this doesn't resonate, this confrontation doesn't resonate with me. What do you wish to achieve? And that's, so, you know, if you show interest in them, of what they're trying to get out of life, that will diffuse them a lot to start with. And then also, at the same time, they may reveal, you know, why they're a little bit tetchy. And also, you may be able to sort of turn around and kind of go, well, this just shows you that I'm not going in that direction. Maybe you are, and maybe you should be with other people that are going in that direction, if you know what I mean. So it's, I think, showing interest in them and trying to help them find their peaceful and harmonious pathway is best. Sounds like you're becoming a bit of a healer there, sort of like Aussie. Be prepared, my friend, be prepared. Okay. What do you want to achieve? Sounds great. We'll use it. Yeah, do it. Use it. Seriously. What would you like to achieve out of this situation? Yeah. Can I help you even achieve that? So then you no longer got confrontation. The moment you stop having that confrontation, is like you're one of these hands. The moment you take that hand off, the other person is just doing wind. And you can use that wind as a power in order to help them sort themselves out. Pleasure, Ida. Is it Ida? I think it's Ida. You're in Brisbane. My son was in Brisbane not too long ago. You're off to work. Ida Lee. Lovely name, Ida Lee. Have a lovely day at work, Ida Lee. I'm going to be off as well. So many thanks to you. Many thanks to everybody. Ozzy, lovely. Chrissy, Lynn, lovely to see you. Kevin, Ivy, Dragon, lovely to see you. Nikota, send me that email. Lovely to see you as well. Absolutely beautiful. Coral, lovely to see you. Louis, Anne-Marie, lovely to see you. Just trying to make sure I don't miss anyone. Ida, obviously, lovely. Hypnotherapy Grounded, lovely to see you. Yes. Who else we got? Julie, Judith. I was orange. Don't worry. Know it. Lovely. Maria. Lovely to see you as well. Michael. Thanking you very much. Oh, Michael. I don't know how you pronounce it. One way or the other. Lovely to see you. Raymond. Oh, I was thanking you for being here. Yes. Lovely to see you as well. Vita, lovely to see you. Loved your comment the other day, by the way. Lovely to see. Priscilla, lovely to see you. Coral, I think I said Coral already, but anyway, if I haven't, Coral, Kevin, lovely. I think I've said you as well, but lovely to say again. Yes, lovely to see everybody. I do apologise about the technological stuff that was a bit of a complicated at the beginning, but you know, I think the powers that were are finding it more and more difficult to hold me back, so that's going to be quite good fun, you know. So yes, I will see you all very soon, and thanking you very much for being here. Thanking you very much for your follows, your likes and your shares and all of that malarkey. It's absolutely beautiful to see. And yes, I will see you soon. In the meantime, don't forget, life should be fun. So please do enjoy, you know.